51, and I think I'm going to change it up to SR51. I'll give you an update later, but I like SR51. So yeah, I'm your host. Hopefully you're having a good weekend. It's about what now? Saturday, late afternoon, late night. This is a after stream show. I had did about 4 hours on four, maybe 4.5 hours on Twitch and TikTok. Played a little bit of Madden, hung out with the community, talked about some game streams, talked about different things. Hold on. I feel better than I did the last stream. Uh, Health concerns, just to kind of clear everything up, it's not something that's like, thank the Lord, it's not something that's like, major health concern or something. I think it was like a virus. And you know how you get those like, hold on one second, let me make sure the audio is live too, because I could be talking into the wind, you know. Don't want to be talking into the wind for 8 hours, not knowing that you can't hear yourself. So let me see if it's live. You can't hear yourself. If it's live. Okay, we're good. All right. So I think we're better now. I'll tell you one thing. I have no problem with saying it. I'm pushing 40 soon here this year, and oh my God, like my body. And if I cough, I'm gonna say that now. You have to excuse me. Like I'm literally just getting over like not even really just getting over it, but actually still recovering from it. A you know, like I said, virus, cold. I don't know what it was, man. To be honest, I really don't because it it basically beat me down, you know. And it's not something I'm like upset about. I thank the Lord that it wasn't, something majorly serious, but Jesus has beat the crap out of me. So I'm just kind of recovering now, like getting to a point where um my voice is back, but I am noticing joint stiffness, you know. I know a lot of people sometimes try to, I mean, don't get me wrong, I thank the Lord that I've lived to see 40 at a good health. I don't have any problems or past problems that are still haunting me to this day or anything like that. So I think it's a great thing to be in a position where, you can still wake up every morning the same way. But that meme you see where it's like, getting out of the bed and then getting out of the bed like your 40s is true like a mug. Well, so yeah, just to, because also what we're going to be doing here is I want to announce today we are going to be removing a time limit on this stream when it comes to the SR51 Media show. I feel like I was being rushed a little bit, trying to say, hey, it's only going to be this long, or hey, it's only going to be this long. I feel like what I was doing was running through the topics a little fast and trying to keep it under a certain time limit. Um, I myself personally enjoy streams that don't really have a time limit. It's something where you can tell the person is just, explaining, hey, this is how I think about this and the news and so on and so forth. But while we have that pulled up, as I, get things together, I want you to remember that this is the SR51 Media Empire, where you never know what is behind the next load screen. And let's get it started. So, and also, all respect to any executives or brands or anything like that mentioned, but I will be talking honestly. That's one thing I've always done and prided myself on for over a decade is being a gamer, being a consumer at the same time, and being able to give a honest opinion, a non bought off opinion type thing. So the first thing I want to step into is why I've been absent and why I believe that's ended. So, like I said, I was sick. My computer took a crap. Basically, what happened was I noticed that because I had the MacBook M1 for a while, and uh, don't get me wrong, that Apple software is very powerful. But after so many years, a lot of people would have to understand that basically, um, to be honest, I've learned that I use my technology more than the average person. Like when you're pumping out, which I can guarantee at least like, 40 hours worth of gameplay a month and, podcasts on top of that and edits to the website, articles and photo exchanges and downloads and all that, it can take its toll. So, also, to be honest, with the computer taking a crap right around the time of my sickness, as far as I'm assuming it was a cold, I'm over it now. Still a little mucusy, so like I said, you may hear the occasional cough. That's not me just coughing in your ear. That's something you deal with after a cold and losing your voice, I heard. But yeah, I feel better now. The reason why I believe it's ended too is because I have a more structured understanding for what I need to do going forward with the brand, and I will be getting into that as a topic in and of itself. But I do believe the hiatus, as far as me missing for days on end and stuff like that, have ended. So basically, what'll be going on going forward is something different, and I will be getting into that. But I just wanted to explain that because I know sometimes, without taking any shots, because I will never, mention a fellow content creator's name or whether that be a guy or girl, an executive or brand or anything like that. But I do feel sometimes people rely on, how can I put this? People rely on the hotness, and they will appear when it's hot stuff and disappear when it's not. And that's not how I am. It really bothered me not being able to talk to you as a community whenever I wanted to. Not whenever I wanted to, like randomly, but like on a consistent basis. So I had to kind of, get well, get better, and also, figure out the direction that I wanted to go in. And I figured it out. So, like I said, I feel as though this ended, and I'm going to be giving more information on that as the show goes on. But I wanted to at least explain that from the beginning. And also, I'll take a second to, like I said, in case this is your first or second or third or whatever, show, because this is only the second episode of the newly revamped SR51 Media show. The reason why I chose the name the SR51 Media show is because, to be honest, I created an empire over 10 years ago. The SR51 Media show was the name I settled down on. Well, SR51 Media is the name I settled down on because media can mean a lot of different things. It can mean digital. It can mean print. It can mean, you know, uh, how can I put this? It can mean digital comics. At the time, I feel like I was adding a lot of things that are not going to expire, if I could kind of put it that way. Like when I was talking about, doing the comic book, that's not something that has a expiration date on it. Like I don't actually have to, do that in the next couple weeks because, to be honest, I I'm old enough to know and been around longer. I guess predating yourself, being around before the internet, you kind of come at it kind of cautiously. I think a lot of people that, and if you're wondering also, why I turned off the chat, it's mainly because I'm okay with, after the stream is over, people, putting in their comments and things like that, and the ones that I not to say agree with, but I can tell are like respectful, I'll publish. But sometimes in the stream, while you're trying to like discuss topics and stuff, you can get trolls. All right, so we need to perform another sound check. Let me see. Are we getting audio here? Or what has happened? Huh. I don't think the audio is coming through. Damn it. Yeah, I don't think we're getting audio here. Okay. If we were getting audio, I would be able to hear it. Hold on. All right, let's audio check it. Okay, let's audio check it. Okay, let's audio check it. Okay, now we're good. Now we're good. Okay, let's audio check it. All right. So probably what was going on was that because I'm using my Apple headset, and I think that you know how like well I mean if you never had an Apple headset, I can understand you're not fully understanding it, but basically it has to have complete connectivity or it won't work. So um yeah, as I was saying, basically the reason why I think it's ended is because, and I'll go deeper into it, but one of the things I can debut tonight is, and hopefully I can hold this down. Um, I am going to be looking to do daily gaming news. Now, what that means is not fluff, okay, and spam. I'm gonna start referring it to as spam because I'm gonna be honest, spam do taste pretty good. Especially spam musubi, boy. Don't get me started on that Samoan food, boy. That spam musubi, you don't know nothing about it. If you ain't had a spam musubi, bro, you ain't lived. You know. So the thing about it is, I'm gonna start calling it spam, and spam is in a way the content where, like, without throwing a shot or anything like that, I feel like spam is the type of content where it's kind of like the echo chamber where everybody says the same thing. And what cracks me up about it, because I keep it real with the 51 Dynasties, is you'll have an echo chamber, right? And then they'll acknowledge that, you know. And this is a non-made for kids podcast, so I mean, if it makes you uncomfortable to hypothetically, I'm one that says my nigga, or a cuss word every now and again. I understand if that's something that for you is, maybe unacceptable or something that you don't want to listen to. I completely understand. But, I like to keep it real so that way I can give you my honest self, the same person you see on the streams. If you notice, there's really no difference. I would honestly say that the person that you interact with on, and thank you to everyone that's been a part of the empire from day one up till now, not just including the community, but the mods. Some mods have been around for hell since I started on TikTok. You know, um, there's great moderators. I'm not gonna name any of them because I don't want to miss anybody. But there's mods that have been around since day one. There's mods that have been around for the past 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years. Yeah, they may not be in every stream and they may not be in every comment section, but best believe we are connected. I created really the Discord for the community, but also to celebrate the mods and give them the ability to interact with not only me but the community back and forth. And we all understand, we're adults and we talk about adult things in gaming. Now, when we say adult things in gaming, we don't mean like I have rules, and some of those rules are basically, no politics, no religious. When I say religious, like don't get me wrong, like I'm God fearing man myself, God first type thing. But I'm not gonna shove it in your face. I don't think that that needs to be brought up with gaming. To be honest, no politics. I know that right now in the world, it's very, how can I say this? It's very controversial when it comes to the whole political thing, and I don't want that anywhere near my brand. To be honest, because I just feel like it brings a lot of like hostility to gaming. Um, Same thing with anything racial or homophobic or hate filled. That holds no place in the 51 Dynasties community. It's a bannable offense. And when I say bannable, I don't mean bannable like, oh, I'm gonna time you off for a couple minutes. I mean like, no, I'm gonna block you, and I'm gonna block you anywhere else I see you a part of the community because we don't want that around us. So listening to the community and realizing, what needs to be present and what doesn't need to be present has led me to really where I am now. So I just wanted to at least, clear it up now. When I say daily gaming news, my ideal gaming news daily will be at bare minimum 5 to 10 minutes, you know, maybe 15, 20, right? On the weekends, like around this time between Friday and Sunday, I will look to do a full on, SR51 Media show where it's basically, like how I have now, tons of topics and basically no time limit and stuff like that. And if, during the week, I'm gonna try to keep it at least daily. Now, I excluding like a Monday because anybody will tell you Mondays are rough. You know, it's the start of the work week. You're at your most tired, and you're just trying to get through it to not so much just a work week, but there's a lot of people that have responsibilities, kids, family, stuff like that, and it beats down on you. So when I say daily, that's why I want to keep it at least 15, 20 minutes to know, hey, before I call it a day, let me, jump live to be able to give my opinion because I feel like there is always gaming news every day. There's always something that you can comment on. And I think there's enough topics nowadays to be able to pick from where I won't have to, how can I say this? I won't have to sound like the echo chamber. I think that one thing that I noticed that I don't like that, which is wild, is acknowledged by some of the bigger brands is there's a statement that comes out and then there's the same, let's say 9 or 10 people that repeat the same statement, right? In the same way. Like you don't know how many times, because I have specific people I watch and listen to. And I'll listen to just the one person because I look at it like I'm not going to sit here and listen to, six guys afterwards say the same thing. Now, do I always go to the same person? Sometimes. Um, I think that if I could comment on, the first topic on why I think it's ended, I backed off a little bit because I noticed there was starting to be this very big, like, hatred towards Xbox. You know, um, without putting because I don't really cuss unless it just slips or I bring it up type thing. The whole F Xbox thing. I know there's probably like at least 5 or 6 people I could think of that got down with that have now changed their mind. And I'm like, how are you even dealing with these guys? You know, like they literally say F your brand, and it's like, well, we're still gonna send them games, or we're gonna send them boxes, or we're gonna send them controllers, and we're gonna give them reviews and all this bull crap. And I'm like, see, that's the stuff we gonna talk about. But yeah, now that you got how my rap boy said in the back, you got your mind right, money right, ready for war, type thing. Checking in for the defense of Xbox, Your Honor. But yeah, that was just why I think it ended. Topics, why I think it ended. One of the major changes will be daily content. So I'm not gonna put like a time scale on it because I feel like if I say, okay, at, I don't know, just throwing a random time out here, if I was to say, okay, at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm going to put out the content, but let's say I'm free on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at like 4, why would I wait till 9? But then let's say Wednesday, I'm only free at 7. See what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of one of those just expect something daily, from the brand. And when I say brand, I mean the SR51 Media brand, but I like to refer to it as the SR51 Empire. Now, a lot of people might think, well, why would you want to replace the word brand with Empire? I'm a Star Trek fan. To be honest with you, I give you a peek behind the curtain. I've always been a Star Trek fan. Um, Still a Star Trek fan to this day. And one of my favorite groups, my two favorite groups out of Star Trek Empire, Empire, excuse me, the Star Trek franchise is the Federation and the Klingon Empire. And it's got me thinking like, I like the sound of the SR51 Media Empire versus the SR51 Media brand. Now I know in this copycat world we have going on today that could be something that somebody pops up with tomorrow, but to be honest, I have ways of laying down tracks to understand, who did it first. And I'm pretty sure last time I checked, no one really refers to their stuff that way. So we'll see, if it stays that way. But I'm not really too worried about it because I could always go back to a tweet or a YouTube video or something like that and kind of prove the fact that, hey, I was the first one to say that with my stuff. And what you do with your stuff and how you run your business is how you run your business. But yeah, that's one of the changes that's coming and already here. Basically, it will no longer be referred to as the SR51 Media brand. It will be referred to as the SR51 Media Empire. Now, at the same time, you might be thinking, well, why go Empire? Well, number one, I am more than just a game streamer. I'm also a consumer, and I'm more than just a consumer. I'm also a content creator. Um, Content creation is something that has grown a lot since I first started. Hell, it's grown a lot since I first started playing video games. Like I know as an '80s gamer, I know when I first started out because I started out with Tiger handhelds, and I moved into Nintendo and Xbox later on in life. And to be honest, there was a lot. Some of the things that was around when I was younger are still around to this day, like the whole, let's touch grass and let's go outside and all that sorts of stuff, right? And that's cool. I'll be getting into some of the things I've been doing to kind of balance that out as well. But the changes that I wanted to change was the fact that I'm like, okay, I'm streaming this gameplay, but I'm also not, giving my opinion on this news and talking about, stuff that changes. So it kind of disconnected us. So that's when I decided to connect my Discord community with my, 51 Dynasties community, basically. Give us a home, somewhere where you can come and you can, you know, be a part of the community and give your opinions in a, let's say, safe space. I like to use the word safe space. I think a lot of chat rooms and a lot of like areas have become non-safe, you know. Uh Tell, to be honest with you, because I don't want to bring them up, but you could only imagine some of the things that have been said to me as a content creator. Like, I think the first show, like the reason why I decided to turn the chat off on this one, which is one of the smartest moves I could ever did, was the fact that like you'll have people just come in and write some of the most ridiculous stuff, whether it be slurs or cursing you out or something to get attention. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I've noticed over a period of time people that I don't want to say aren't as successful, but I kind of take the terminology people that clearly feel unhappy with themselves or their life will bring that negativity to the stream. And as I was saying, it's kind of hard to, monitor a stream and stay on pace and have to stop every couple of seconds to delete a troll or a comment or something that was said. So at the same time, I have chosen to basically keep the chat off for this stream. And probably every stream going forward is going to be that way. I know a lot of people might feel like, hey, I would love to comment while you're streaming, but I save that more for game streams. And some of the things that'll be going forward, I feel like it needs to be more 50-50. I think that at one point it was more like, because I used to do the show on SoundCloud, and they're a good place. I have nothing against them, but I feel that YouTube was around before TikTok, and Twitch is in a different lane. So YouTube has always been home. Um, but I felt like at the same time, my gameplay as far as streams and stuff were not fully, let's say, embraced the way I wanted it to versus a Twitch, because I feel like between Twitch and TikTok, those are the best, with TikTok being the king of short form content and Twitch being the mecca of freaking game live plays. I was like, okay, that makes sense, but what are you going to give YouTube? And I'm like, okay, well, I know one thing I've been trying to get into when I had the time was basically daily content. I know a lot of people say weekly and bi-weekly and stuff like that, but I'm like, bro, I'm always online. Anybody can tell you, you get at least probably in bare minimum, you get at least one post on X from me and at least one retweet every day. And I'm like, that thing that I'm posting about, I can give my opinion on. You know, not everybody likes Twitter. Not everybody. I know it may sound wild, but not every person likes like Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and all that. They like this, you know, being able to hear from the guy that was just streaming a couple hours ago versus the last time I heard from you was when some news came out, you know? So that's something that I wanted to start as of today. Like today is a weekend day, so you know I'm just gonna let it fly type thing. I have notes. Best believe it's not no just randomly going off or whatever. But I do feel as though that you know I'm gonna push outside of Mondays. You know, if Monday happens, Monday happens. But every day I'm gonna try to have you know a little conversation with you as a community, and you know give my opinion in the format that I'm doing now because I feel as though not only it helps to you know the 51 dynasties for us to come together, but it also lays down a track of you know who I am and who the Empire is. And like I said, the Empire was chosen being a Star Trek fan, and it's something that nobody really goes with. Um, to explain some other things as far as changes, you might have saw a lot of different, let's say, sketches when it comes to the logo. Uh, just to kind of put that on tape, a lot of people might be wondering, you know, well, why did you choose the elephant? Why didn't you choose something else? To be honest with you, a lot of people are wanting, everybody wants to be, everybody labels themselves as either lions or tigers or dragons or something like that, or bears. And I feel as though, like, that dominant persona that people try to have sometimes is overbearing in a way. It doesn't feel emotionally connected, you know? Like with me, the elephant will emotionally connects with me because number one, I'm typically, not all the time, but about 85% of the time, I'm typically taller than everybody else in the room. And the reason why, you know, I like the elephants is because shout out to my, I want to say I heard this from my principal when I was younger. She told the class, um, basically, a full grown elephant will not be attacked by a single lion. So what that means is when people go, you know, king of the jungle and all sorts of stuff, a full grown lion will not attack a full grown elephant by himself. If you look it up, a full grown elephant can kill a full grown lion because of the fact that it has so much power in its legs alone. If it gets it to the ground and steps on it, you're dead, right? So what a lion has to do is go off and get a pack to come back and take that, you know, full grown elephant down, which may happen because, you know, he's not a carnivore, so he doesn't have fangs or nothing like that. But the point of the matter is, you basically can't take an elephant by yourself. You need 4 or 5 guys. And that's where I kind of came from with the whole gaming content. I noticed that for me, I can run a, you know, 2 3 hour podcast by myself and not even break a sweat because I do that in game streams. Like I'm not just staring off into the screen playing the game. Like I'm answering questions. I'm talking to the community. I'm talking to my mods. I'm playing sound effects, which I got to get back to with the sound effects. But you kind of see where I'm coming from. You know, see how there's an emotional connection to the logo and not just, you know, something that I drew and threw up there. So as far as renovations go, I don't want to change anything. I think it's become classic, you know, and after a good, I want to say what 9 to maybe 10 years worth of 1 second, let's drop this light a little bit. um After a good 9 to almost 10 years worth of use with the logo, I feel like it just can't be changed. You know, it's ingrained, it's a part of the brand. You know, back in the day it was a part of the brand, and then when we transitioned to an empire, because I think that empires, like when you look at something like Alexander the Great, and Cleopatra and the Zulu tribe and things like that. It's not centered around just one thing. Like it's spread out. It touches on a lot of different things, and that's what I think a good empire does. And that's what made me attach to the name, and that's what made me say, hey, this really represents the logo. The logo really represents the brand, and it led me down the path of thinking, okay, so how do you enhance that without losing something? So to do that, I've decided to, like I said, continue doing the game streams. Now, the changes that are going to happen with the game streams, we are going to have to minus some of the time that we put into um, Madden. Now, it doesn't mean like I'm saying that now and then, when the new Madden comes out, it's just full bore, let's go with just Madden. What went on was basically I put a lot of time into it because it's a good game. I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of people look down on sports games, like, okay, well, uh, it's just a sports game. It's not that good, or it's not that good of content. Here's the thing: if you're not good at something, just say you're not good at something. I'm not. I tell you right now, I'm not the best at soccer or hockey or baseball, but I know they're good games. You know, I'm not going to sit up here and get struck out, 30 different times or whatever, but I do feel as though that, they're good games regardless. But, the reason why I, myself personally, and if you don't know, I have several tattoos. I love me some tattoos. I get my tattoos from the tattoo shop, the Black Lay, where I get my tattoos from, which I feel is the best tattoo shop in Washington. From my wife, you've seen the pictures. All of my tattoos look just like how they're supposed to look. You know, Nothing against anybody else, but I think a lot of times people will get tattoos where they're supposed to look like it's something different when you're just getting something created. But like everything on my body looks like how I want it to look. Like my Xbox logo, my Game Boy, my Xbox controller, my N64 controller, my Pokemon, my Hulk, all that sorts of stuff, and even the stuff we're working on that um I'm gonna get in the future. Looks just like how it's supposed to look, and that's what makes me happy as a client, because that's how my wife treats me as a client, not as like, let me just scribble some crap on you, you know? And the reason why I say that is because like football, and not just football, because I have a 12-inch Eagle, I have another 12-inch 80s Eagle, I have a Phillies lettering, and I have a 76ers logo. Um, these things stick out to me because you may not know, I live in the greater state of Washington, but I was born and raised in Philly. And it's not one of those things where like I just started liking those teams. Like I was born into this. I had it passed down to me from aunts and uncles and grandparents and cousins and stuff like that. So I love it. I love the beginning. I love this time of year. This is my time of year where the hard part. Excuse me. That's what I meant about the cold. Let me get a little water here. Figured that'll start up. Um, that's where, you know, this time of year kind of starts up where it's like I know in Washington the kind of clothes look is more like a hoodie and shorts. You know, Today was you got a little bit of that, but then it kind of turned into like bitter cold. Halfway through the day, mainly because it was raining. But this is my time of year. Summertime's coming around. You're gonna get a new Madden. You're gonna get a new 2K. WWE came out earlier this year, so around the time of later this year, you should be able to um, get that game at a good price. There's games like GTA and Fable and other games that are coming out from Xbox that I'm looking forward to, and we'll get into it, but going into the rest of this year is, you don't start looking towards the holidays, but you at least start looking at, football and stuff. So when, something like Madden comes out, it's a phenomenon because of the fact that is matched with NFL football. And then you have college football, which comes out, which I plan on getting as well. My favorite, there's, I want to say, yeah, there's two favorite football teams I have. One is, well, my favorite outright football team is the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. I feel like I have finally decided, you know, that the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors is my favorite college football team, and below them would be Penn State. So, any game that comes on from Penn State or Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, I check out, as long as I can and stuff. And if I can't check it out outright, I always run it back. But that's the team that I'll be playing with in the new college football, Lord willing, I'm able to get it. Uh, with NBA 2K, I'm pretty sure a new one's about to come out. I have NBA 2K, put it to you like this, the one with SGA on it. I have that one. Thank you and shout out to Xbox for making it available on Game Pass because I was very hesitant on buying that game, and I didn't have to. So now I get to try it out. If everything goes well, like I want to see how the My Career works. I want to see how the franchise works. I want to see how the shot meter works. If everything works pretty well with that, I can see myself ordering uh, the new NBA 2K. Now, how I normally order 2K is I buy without sounding boisterous, because I'm one thing about me is I've realized that not just with gaming, just with life period. I've never really been the type that's like boisterous, like yeah, this is that. Myself personally, what I would say is I like buying the premium editions of things. Like if I really like the game, or I really like what is being said about the game or the previous version, I'll pre-order the game. And I think with 2K, what makes it better is having the 100,000 VC where you can, instead of having to start your player off at like 67 and work your way, you grind a whole year and you're only at 76. I think it's better to be able to have 100,000 VC start off, in a completely different direction. Uh, the wild part about it is, I think with this 2K26, excuse me, I think with this 2K26, I think I'm going to try to go back to the point guard. I think that the center position is good, but I know that the 76ers in my career would either bench Joel Embiid or they would trade him because I'm playing that position. Whereas with the point guard, I feel like, don't get me wrong, Maxi plays point guard, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to bench him as well. They'll probably just put me a shooting guard if I don't just make myself shoot, or small forward. I might go more small forward. I don't know. But I plan on playing to try out the shot meter. As far as WWE, I was just getting settled into the year when that came out, but I'm a big wrestling fan. And not one of those like recent type wrestling fans. Like I was a wrestling fan of like when there was like Papa Shango. If you don't know who Papa Shango is, then you don't go far back like that. And it's no insult. Some people are just now discovering wrestling due to the bloodline and the Usos and Jim, Jason, and Fatu and Uba Femi and CM Punk and stuff like that. They're just discovering wrestling. So I understand where you're coming from, where you might just got into it. But like I said, I've been around since Papa Shango, um, Diesel, you know, the Rockers, stuff like that. I've seen the transition go from being PG-13 to being Extreme Championship Wrestling, hardcore. And then, the NWOs, black and white, the NWO red and black, that Wolfpack, oh, and D Generation X and the hardcore era, the Attitude Era, and then mature its way into, to me, which is some of the best entertainment I think I've ever seen with wrestling, where like it's a whole show now. Like, don't get me wrong, it was always like that, but I think like what makes me want to play the game more now is that not only do I want the game, but I also want the service. Now, I will speak on this because, like I said, being honest, and speaking on some things that have changed with the brand. The reason why I didn't buy the game is because I want to match the game with the service. Now, I did have um, what was the name of that thing? I did have Peacock, right? And I was cool with it because you can get all the what do you call it? You can get all the pay-per-views on there. Now this new form is I don't even know. You know, I'm not sure what is what. I was gonna watch WrestleMania because excuse me, and that's not me being tired, that's just me settling into the night. Um I was gonna watch WrestleMania, but then it was something where it was like and don't get me wrong, Triple H, if you can hear me, bruh, bruh, just create an app, bruh. Like, can we just? I mean, I could be wrong. I'll look it up. But like one thing that I could say that I think WWE needs to align themselves with is like how the NBA and how the NFL do it. There's a pass that you buy once, and then you pay a price, and then all year you're good. This whole like ESPN Super Plus thing is, don't get me wrong, bro. Like that, come on now. I'm not even arguing you so much as a price. I'm arguing as far as inconvenience. Like with the NFL, like I buy the Lord willing, I'm gonna be able to do it again. Uh I buy the NFL pass for myself and for family members because how it works is you're allowed to put in accounts and stuff. It's not one of those things where it's like 50 million people on it, but two or three people when you buy it like that can log in and watch and stuff like that. Same thing with the NBA pass, and some of the great things that come with the pass from NFL is that you get to watch every game. So for me, I know there's going to be some times where I'm either too tired or too busy to watch Monday Night Football when it comes on. So knowing that I can kick it over anytime I want is great. Same thing with um, Thursday Night Football, but the main getter is Sunday. I think that it's kind of an unwritten holiday where there's like I want to say like what I know there's four games with YouTube because I have YouTube TV as well. As a family, and I had a pass. So it'll be like four games in the morning. I'm talking bright and early. And well, first of all, it's that new overseas game that they have that comes on first, which I ain't getting up at no 5 o'clock. Even though I love football, I ain't getting up at no 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning to watch no football. But right on time I get up and have some coffee and all that sorts of stuff. There's four games that come on in the morning, and you can watch all four on the screen, which is possible. Um, I didn't think I understood that until I actually got the pass. Like until I actually got the NFL pass to notice, like, oh, there I can watch, four games at once and stuff like that. What happened was I became attached to that, and then it's if I'm not mistaken, it's I think it's four games, three games. It's either 4-4-2-1 or 4-3-1. But I forget which one it is, but I know it starts off with four, and then I know it works its way down slowly but surely to Sunday Night Football. Now, to me, that's more than worth 100 to 200 bucks a year, because even though I'm a huge and only, when it comes to football, only Eagles fan, I still will watch any game that comes on. Like I don't care who it is, you know. It could be the Browns versus the Dolphins. Like I'm watching that, John, bro. Like I do not care. Like it's just how I'm built. I'm not gonna say okay because it ain't the Eagles. I'm not watching it. Now with basketball, uh, this was my first, I want to say, full year of watching anybody that came on, and I really enjoyed it. Of course, 76ers fan. No, not a fan of the Allen Iverson 76ers, but definitely a fan of the Maxi, Embiid, Edgecombe. No, I didn't agree with the McCain trade at all. I'm glad that the GM is fired. I think the organization will run better going forward. But at the same time, my tattoo is from the new Sixers because that's what I'm a fan of, not the old one. Um, I wouldn't buy a pass for the Phillies. Nothing against them, but I feel like the format of baseball is kind of ridiculous. You know, like 200 something games is nuts. Like we need to try to cut this down to a couple hundred, not even a couple hundred, like playing. I know I played the franchise because it's about gaming. It's not so much like a sports thing. And it does tie into the changes because you'll get a better understanding for why I'm making the choices I'm making. The reason why I didn't lean out to get the baseball one is because outside of Phillies, I don't watch anybody else's team, and I'm like, okay, you know, it's different with basketball. Now I understand, like, because I was a little pissed off, to tell you straight up with 2K, if you're listening, to have a weight class, to be real with you, is a little weightism. And I think you need to think about the kids that are Shaq's height and weight. I think that you need to think about the people that are my weight. And as much as you may think that somebody that's bigger cannot play basketball, you are crazy. Okay. First of all, I'm almost 40. No, I ain't dunking nothing. But I if I was completely honest, could I take off from a 1, 2, 3 step and grab the rim and hang on without actually hurting myself? Yes. There was a time way back in a galaxy far, far away where I could do that, and some of my highlights as a kid was basically being able to uh, do that, being able to go 1, 2, 3 up and dunk, right? Luckily I didn't hurt myself. Uh, Same thing with weightlifting. There was a lot of like weightlifting and training I was able to do at a young age. My highest, a lot of people go off of like bench presses. I was never really a really bench press guy. I was more into like leg work, and I'm pretty sure I could not contact the person that would vouch for me, but I'm willing to put it, excuse me, I'm willing to put it on, let's say, how do people say, it's a great show, and I'm willing to admit that it's a great show. Really, not even just a great show. Let's just put it on a network. I do feel as though Zeus Network is an amazing network, and if I had to say, "Oh my mama," like at one point, I was able to leg press 500 pounds. Now, talking with my wife, who's better, and other family members who have better and longer weight training than me, I could have really messed myself up, because I could have blew out my knees, maybe tore some stuff. So luckily, I was able to do it for a period of time, and I felt proud about it because I was like, yeah, I'm leg pressing a big show or a deer or something like that. But I wouldn't even try anything like that nowadays. Like, bruh, bruh. You talk about you try to mess yourself up. No, I'm good. My body's like, if you even attempt something like that, you going to call an ambulance in this piece. So, games like WWE to me are very interesting. I do plan on trying to get that maybe this weekend. I think that'll be not this weekend, like right now, but maybe next weekend or whatever. I might try to lean into that. Um, I would love to get me, to be honest, when it comes to 2K wrestling, if you guys are listening type thing, please stop with the stories that are not wrestling related. Like I remember, I don't know who was making the game, but there was like this one story, and I have no problem with female wrestlers. Okay, let me clear that up right now. I think that some of my favorite female wrestlers in not just video games, but the brand itself, because we are talking games here. China, definitely, because I feel like China bridged the gap between a female wrestler and a male wrestler. I remember matches she had with like Kane and X Pac, and like I think she might have actually been the Intercontinental Champion for a little bit. So like her definitely, big fan of the man Becky Lynch. The man Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, the Queen, of course, Naomi. Um, I want to remember the one lady's name. I don't want to mess her name up. Crap. I'm blanking. Let me look it up because that's not fair to what you call it. Let me look it up. I got the power of the internet. Let me see if I can find it. With the power of the internet, basically. Let me see here. Uh, Nia Jax. There you go. big fan of Nia Jax. I feel like Nia Jax is the perfect like blend of like muscle and speed at the same time, and she has a great character. You know that kind of like um you know like bigger than life kind of character, like sort of like a Big Show. You know, wrestlers, female wrestlers like that are amazing. As far as the guys, not to leave them out, big fan of the Usos. Really, I'm a big fan of Bloodline. Period. I grew up under the Rock and stuff like that. Who in the blue hell is this? I still remember the day The Rock did, like, because he used to always do the people's elbow, and I remember when he went to go do the people's elbow in these dress shoes he was wearing, and he bounced off the ropes, but he slid forward like without moving his legs and dropped the people's elbow, bruh. Epic, epic. So that's what brings me back to like WWE games is the fact that there's something tied behind it. Um, to bring it back into focus a little bit, more with Xbox. There are games that I'm going to be talking about that keep it there, but to give a little bit of history, my favorite Halo of all time is Halo 5. I know a lot of people are like, what? Oh my God, this one's better, and blah, 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 blah. Halo to me is at its peak Halo 5 because I feel like when you look at the other Halos, I feel like they're all the same. And they're good, but they're all the same. You know, an enemy appears, wake Master Chief. The enemy's dead. Put Master Chief back to sleep. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, but after like 10 years, bro, like I don't want to be Master Chief anymore. Now to be honest, Halo 5 was my favorite because it was the first time you ever saw Chief in a different light, you know? It was the first time you ever saw Chief as a criminal. Like I remember when I was working at the time and I was listening to this podcast that they had going where it was I forget the name of it, but it was something about they were telling a story about because the game hadn't came out yet and weekly they would do episodes where they told the story of what was going on in the game where Master Chief was a criminal, right? Something he had done had made him a criminal of the state, right? And I was like, bro, like that's crazy. Like this is I had people that like literally shout out to fellow content creators, they know who they are, right? I had fellow content creators at the time being like, what? What you mean Chief is a criminal? And they listening to the podcast with me and they like, what do you think is going on? And I'm like, I don't know. But I ain't never heard of Chief breaking the law. And Agent Locke was amazing to see in the game, because of the fact that I had watched him as Luke Cage, which I'm also upset has been, canceled. But it was to me the perfect Halo game. You know, it was a mixture of creativity, changing direction, and things like that, and it made me fall in love because I had already been in love with Halo from. If I had to choose outside of 5, as wild as this may sound, um, I would have to say probably ODST. I would have to say ODST because I feel like ODST was also like a if there was no ODST there would be no Halo because they died opening the door for the rest of the Spartans. And then like I like New Directions. That's why I am like don't get me wrong, I like the permanent stuff, but I like New Directions too. And I feel like with ODST it was like the perfect, mixture. And then 5 kind of left us hanging because not 5 left us hanging, but I feel like what I didn't like was that after 5 they went back to the same formula. And I feel like sometimes, which is understandable, brands sometimes can play it safe. One second. Brands can sometimes play it safe because they're afraid that, you know, um, somebody's going to have a problem with it. If they basically go in a new direction or if they try something that hasn't been done and it doesn't sell $100 billion in the first week, that it was a flop. And that's not how I look at things. I look at it like when you look at Halo 5, I remember a time where I used to log in to just play multiplayer. because it was like the perfect mix. Like you could customize your Spartan. Um, they gave us cards for and this is a direct message to the Microsoft Studios, or should I say now the new Xbox Studios. Uh, to me, that was the perfect blend because I remember I could grind, and I even felt like grinding just playing matches. I remember one time there was like, because you used to get like 15 or I think it was like 15 or 20 people that could come into a lobby and be on the same team. I like, at this point, I like PvE more than I like PvP nowadays. I don't know why. If you look back on a lot of my old content, a lot of my old content is PvP. Like I was grinding it out. Like I don't know if I have Destiny 1 footage on my YouTube, but I'm pretty sure there's some tweets out there because I mean, you gotta understand, after 70,000 tweets, it's kind of hard to remember every little thing you said. So if somebody wants to back check it. But I'm pretty sure I was on Destiny. I know I was on Destiny 1 when it first came out. Now, how do I feel about, like I said, circling it to Xbox, circling the wagons here? I feel that in a way they need to pause to figure out what they want to do. Okay. I think that if my ideal Halo, okay, now this is, me talking directly to, if they were to listen, I think that there needs to be fully customizable Spartans with an open world that you can get involved with. Excuse me, with an open world that you can get involved with. If you feel as though that you want to have Master Chief in there, cool. I have no problem with that. But it should be optional to play as him. I think that if you come out again and go the same direction with, we're going to give you yet another Master Chief story. I think in this day and age of customization, because we'll be getting into that a little bit later. I don't think it's going to hit that well because you're forcing everyone to love that character. Like, prime example, another franchise that I've always loved from Xbox, Gears of War. It's not something that's brand new. There's a picture I know I published years ago and footage also of me playing, Gears, I want to say 4, right? And I love that game. And one of the main reasons, now don't get me wrong, I loved every Gears before that. One, two, three, not the one with the one guy, but one, two, three, and I loved 4 when it came out. One of the things that attracted me to Gears of War 4 was the fact that he had a son, and his son had his own unit, and Marcus, Phoenix, if I'm calling him correctly, was not the main focus. But then they incorporated him into the story in a sense like, okay, the father's rolling with the son, and basically they're out to, right the wrongs and all the good guy stuff, but at the same time it's gory and it's bloody and it's guns and it's chainsaws. Like, my hand of God, I wrote on Xbox's comment one time, like, one of the coolest things I was able to do was chainsaw down an enemy and hop through him. I'm like, what? Did I just chainsaw this dude in half and then jump through his body? Like, this is incredible right here, right? Now, what I did was I saved Gears of War 5 until now. My only God. I have not played or turned on Gears of War 5 because I said that I want to see, I'm the type of person where I want to see where the franchise is going before I get too involved. And I wondered whether or not they were going to continue with, like, Gears 6 and this whole Gears E-Day thing. To be honest, I'll probably try out Gears of War 5 first before I mess with E-Day because I feel as though I wanted Gear 6. I wanted them to continue the path, but we'll get into why I feel as though that might not have happened. But Gears 5 is still there for me, and I'm pretty sure E Day is going to be good too. So, nothing against it. Um, let's see other franchises from Xbox that have, to be honest, incorporating changes and things like that. What? Fallout. Okay, we'll be getting into that. Who? Oh my God! Fallout, Fallout 76, Skyrim, Bethesda. Period. Okay, these guys got me hooked nowadays. Like, I'm telling you, like the way Fallout 4, and I know some people may be like, "Well, I played that already, and I beat the story." And that's cool, man. Do your thing. I was playing other games at the time, and this one footage, Assassin's Creed, Dishonored, you know, to know that at this point right now, some of the changes that I want to make have so many great games. I recognize that, might have been playing a little too much football, and not giving enough airtime to some of the great games that have come from Xbox. So I will be writing that going forward. So the two main things coming out of the changes, three main things really, are basically more consistent content being hopefully daily. Now I don't mean game streams, but at least hearing from me daily. Now the reason why I can say that, and this isn't a shot at anybody, I understand that people, other content creators may have kids, they may have responsibilities where they can't do that. I'm not doing this to try to encourage others to do it. I'm doing it because of the fact that I literally will spend hours writing tweets and not talk about it. And I'm like, once I figured out this format right here, where I can chop it up without actually having to, decorate a background or anything like that, I'm like, bro, I can do this from anywhere, you know. And I'll get into later about, how it actually fits in. But I wanted to spend a little time at least explaining, where I stand with Xbox and where I've been, so it doesn't sound like some random guy just picked up a mic and said, "Yo, let's talk about Xbox now because they're doing good," you know. So that was basically some of the changes that are coming. And like I said, I do a lot of this on YouTube. So that way for people that, if it's 10 o'clock, well, 11 o'clock now, 11, almost 11:30 on the West Coast, and I can rock out. Some people don't have weekends off. Some people have jobs they have to take care of. Some people have kid responsibilities, wife, life, husband, wife, all that sorts of stuff. So it's good to know that, for the average, 51 Dynasties member, they can run it back whenever they want to. But getting into the next one, my thoughts on the new head of Xbox, and I hope I am not brutalizing her name, Asha Sharma, and her new direction for Xbox. First of all, um, let me see. How do you approach this? Because I have respect. All right, I gotta put this down. Eh, 1 second. Like I said, the kneecaps. Um, I have respect for executives, myself personally, because I feel as though a lot of people don't. And I see them as regular people. Like the retired boss, Phil Spencer, the boss before him, and the boss before him, and the boss of all bosses when you come to Microsoft, Bill Gates. I'm like, these are people that at one point was just like, not to say me, because I don't want to make it seem like it's some bullshit stuff, but this is people that at some point was the same way you were. They had an idea, they made the idea work, they got to a high level, and they're still the same person. Like I remember seeing like a photo or something one time I was at work about Bill Gates. Somebody literally took a picture of this dude standing in line for like a burger or something, and they were like, "Oh my God, Bill Gates eats burgers too." I'm like, "What do you think he don't?" Like, what do you think goes on here? I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Even myself, sometimes I'm like, I don't want McDonald's. I want a steak. I want to go somewhere and eat a steak. But that doesn't mean like, I'm above you or anything like that. I never want, and I guess, don't get me wrong. Like I said, not bringing, religion into it, but you're kind of taught not to think like that in my line of religion, being Christianity and stuff like that. You gotta stay humble type thing. So I'm looking at this picture, I'm like, that's great. Now, what I wonder is, will he ever do it again? Because I'm pretty sure he had to sign 800 million autographs and, talk to 800 million people before he was able to get that burger. And I'm like, well, that's what's up. I'm pretty sure. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't know this man. I always want to make it clear, I don't know this guy personally. Okay, I've never talked to this dude, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he got to the point like, you know what? I want a burger from this place. I don't want it delivered. I want to go get it. Sometimes it gets like that. I mean, this is a crazy world we are living in nowadays, and I don't want to make it seem like it has anything to do with the youth or a specific party of a political standpoint or something. I just think it's just getting wilder and wilder. And you got to be safe out there. So that maybe was something that he hasn't done in years that he wanted to do. Um, as far as the boss that that he put in charge there, the guy that runs the Clippers now, he was very intense. He was Steve Ballmer, I think was his name correctly. Very intense. He brought the hype and the war to PlayStation's door. And I think that there was a little bit of a like, how can I say this? There was a little bit of a tone down of that when Phil Spencer took over. But if I had to be real, I do think Phil, in a sense, to be honest, gave us some very great things. Um, if I could say anything, working a deal with Bethesda and Activision, to me personally, was one of the smartest things they could ever did. I know a lot of people may look at that like rah, 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 rah. Like, let me tell you something. If Starfield would have been exclusive to PlayStation, bro, I would be pissed. Okay, keep in mind I have a Constellation tattoo. Okay, that's how much I love that game. I'm still playing that game to this day. Like, I haven't even played the DLC just to save it. Because I like you got to be feeling that. Hold on one second. Let me double check something. One second. Okay. I feel like when it comes to certain games, it's kind of like Netflix. Like I know a lot. I've said this before that Xbox has kind of like turned themselves into. Hold on one second, y'all. Give me one. Um, I feel like Xbox has kind of turned themselves in a way into like the Netflix of gaming, and I know a lot of people like might feel like that's a bad thing, but I think it's a great thing. Like I think. Hold on one second. I got background. Hold on. So yeah, I notice sometimes people like will come off in a negative light, like being a Netflix of gaming isn't a good thing, and you need to do this and that. I'm like, first of all, let me tell you something. Netflix is probably the best, if not one of the best, streaming services of all time because it's like an ultimate movie theater. You know, it's the type of thing where it's the type of thing where basically you have hundreds of games. You always have something to play. Now, if I had to be honest, and I'm of course leading into Asha Sharma taking over and stuff. Um, it wasn't that way in the beginning. I think I want to say Xbox One, but Xbox One when they had the whole TV thing, um, that was kind of like off brand. It kind of felt like okay, basically they're pumping TV a little too much. And I feel as though, I mean, they were ahead of their time. Xbox, I feel like, is always on the forefront and the leaders and stuff. I know a lot of people think they're a copier, but I think they're a leader in my sense because they were pumping TV before Fallout took over. Before the Fallout TV show took over, before Halo's TV show took over, before games started to have TV shows and things like that. So they attempted it and they came back to it, but at the time it was a little out of pocket. And I also feel that when Game Pass was mainly just like, especially what was that Xbox Gold or something, or Live or whatever it was called, a lot of the games really wasn't top flight. But now you are nuts if you try to say that Xbox Game Pass is not a definite need. Now, myself personally, I'm an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. So what that means is, from last time I checked, I have the highest tier of membership with Xbox. Now, why am I willing to pay that every month? Because of reasons I just named, like stuff like getting, even though, and let me kind of clear this up too. I've heard this mentioned a couple of times, which I feel as though is a bold-faced lie. Xbox gamers don't buy games because they have Game Pass. Okay, let me just list some of the games that Xbox has made that I have bought before and after they were acquired. Number one, I bought Starfield day one pre-order. Okay, 100 something bucks. Okay. What was the other game there? Starfield. Um, I've put hundreds of hours into Fallout and Fallout 76 combined. I've already beaten Dishonored 1. I do plan on going back to beat Dishonored 2. Hopefully, we get a third one. Fingers crossed. Um, I'm a big fan of Call of Duty. The one thing I will say, and I'm leading into the Asha Sharma conversation, and also to make you aware, I am in a shared space and happy wife, happy life. So at the same time, the Call of Duty thing I have no problem with. I think that I'm gonna like the Call of Duty main campaign. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's a psychological thriller and it don't make sense and all that." I'm like, you gotta see it from the angle of something different. You know, if they came out there, like, don't get me wrong, I know everybody tried to pull out the whole, oh, there's the what's the name of the thing there? Battlefield, right? Battlefield and Call of Duty are two separate games. And if I had to be honest, some because leading into it before Esther Sharma, it was the Phil Spencer, and I think that acquiring Bethesda was incredible because of the fact that games like Starfield and Fallout, the new one, and the new Elder Scrolls are not exclusive. I think that if Bethesda would have been acquired by PlayStation, all those games would have been exclusive. Like, no way about it, they would have let them come on anything. And it would have pissed me off because I would have been watching streamers play an amazing game like Starfield and couldn't play it. Not saying I couldn't go buy a PlayStation because I did own a PlayStation at one point. I got rid of it because I wasn't using it. But at the same time, it didn't mean that I think they're a bad brand. If I remember correctly, I think Phil Spencer was the one that said, for us to be good doesn't mean they have to die. For one brand to be good doesn't mean the other one has to be bad. And at the same time, I'm glad he took that approach because number one, Call of Duty is exclusive to Xbox. Now, if I had to be honest, this whole conversation where Call of Duty will not be in Game Pass, uh, I mean, I don't like it. But I do understand where, how can I put this? I do understand the financial side of it. I understand that that game costs hundreds of millions of dollars to make, and they want to, have it on a general format instead of it being like, okay, some of us get it for free and some of us have to pay. But I do think that I don't necessarily agree with that, but I understand where they're coming from. Now moving into you know, when Asha Sharma, like I said, if I'm not saying your name correctly, please forgive me here, but when the new boss, that's what I like to refer to it. I like to refer to them as boss. Bosses are bosses, right? It is what it is. Some of us are capos, some of us are bosses, right? When the new boss took over Asha Sharma, I was one of the first people to congratulate her from just a Xbox gamer and consumer standpoint, not from somebody looking for something or looking for an interview or looking for a quote or looking for a preview or looking to be invited for something. Just happy to see that the brand's going to continue and curious to see what she was going to do. Now there was a lot of like talk and kind of like swarming around her gamer cred. First of all, what does that even matter? For real, for real. Like, who cares? If she, first of all, last time I checked, just in regular life, bro, working a 9 or 10 hour job or something like that doesn't really leave a lot of time to, finish a game. You can play a game, but you may not finish it. Second of all, at the same time, um, I don't think that matters. I don't think to be a great boss of Xbox, you have to be playing everything that comes out. I think you have to have an understanding. She's in my eyes, I think, like a new direction for Xbox to not only drive revenue, but also at the same time improve things that a more business minded um, boss will understand. Like, if I'm not mistaken, giving my opinion on her new direction, um, prime example. One, because I've talked a lot about things I like. Giving you one thing that I didn't. Uh, quick resume. Not a big fan of that. When you play something like Madden, it drops out because it's an online franchise. So basically, if I, let's say, leave my Xbox uh, um, Madden game, right, and I'm playing online in my franchise, and then I go watch TV, and then I come back 45 minutes later, the first thing that's going to pop up is going to say EA servers have been disconnected. Basically, you got to go all the way back to the main screen and sign in, or you have to close the game and reopen it. Now, them giving us the option to turn it off is amazing because they listen to the community. As far as lowering the price on Xbox memberships, big fan of that too because the money, every little bit that's not spent on something specifically can be spent on games when you really think about it. The fact of people like, well, Xbox guys don't buy games because they come in Game Pass is completely stupid. I am here to checking in for the defense of Xbox. Completely stupid. Take Madden for instance. I have bought, Lord willing, and I'm going to get the new one. I have bought every Madden since probably 2014 or 13, right? And the majority of them come in Xbox Game Pass after the season's over. Am I going to sit here and wait till the season's over to play it? No, I'm not. We're not doing that. Okay. Same thing with Starfield. Like I said, bought the big pack, didn't care. When Fallout comes out, I'm loving. Tell you something. Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 is two of my favorite Fallout games. When that new Fallout coming out, bruh, bruh. As soon as that joint get announced, I'm gonna start putting bread aside. Dead serious. Like I want the biggest package. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if I'm gonna get like the collector's edition or nothing like that because a lot of times, that has to be delivered and you might not get it day one. But I'm definitely buying the deluxe edition of that game. Like you can get $100 easy for the new Fallout from me. Um, Same thing with the Elder Scrolls. I plan on hitting that up majorly hard with a pre-order there. What else? What else? What else? Fable. As soon as that gets announced, depending on what you get in the editions, like if they say something like, "Hey, you can get 4 or 5 days early access," or you can um, you can basically get some because I'm pretty sure they have to offer you something, like a sword or outfit or something like that. So I'm already down for that outright. Same thing with State of Decay. I don't know if I mentioned that. Oh my God, State of Decay is a good game, and I think that her direction is gonna like when she said Renegade Xbox, it made me feel like yeah, they're going back at it. They putting their dukes back up. Ain't no more we best friends now. If I do have to address them, not to say if I have to, because there are some things I have to address. I personally do not care if a game is exclusive to PlayStation. Excuse me, exclusive to PlayStation. I do not personally care if a game is exclusive to Xbox. How I look at it is more from a business standpoint. Is there going to be a Starfield 2? Yep. Because number one, Starfield was a hit on Xbox, and then it was a hit on PlayStation. Some people that don't like it are people that just don't like it. Some people, to be honest, best believe, as a person still in the wings with his own comic book ideas, I know that when you mention the word space, some people just ain't with it. I'm not with Hot Wheels games. I'm not with prime example, which may sound weird. I could care less about what's the name of that game there? Dark Souls and all that sorts of stuff, bruh. I'm not gonna be sitting up here swinging at no dude for 30 minutes for him to drop the hammer on me one time and I die. Now it doesn't mean that it's a bad game. It doesn't mean that it's a trash game. It's just not something I'm into. Same thing with, you know, since we leaning into it. Same thing with the whole what's the name of that game there? What is the name of that one game? The Samurai game. Let me put it like that. The PlayStation exclusive Samurai game. You know, I don't worry about that because I got Assassin's Creed, which I feel as though has been a better game before it came out and still is the better game. I feel like Assassin's Creed Shadows is way better than anything that was put out from that Samurai game. Does that mean I feel as though PlayStation is trash or something like that? No. But I look at it like Xbox games being in other places makes more money, which guarantees another version. Now, if they do go a different route and they say, hey, we're gonna necessarily say, you know, um, cut out putting our games on PlayStation, that's one thing. Do I think they would cut out Steam? I doubt it, because as a person that owns the Xbox One Galaxy X, and also a person that has been reading the articles and notices that, hey, basically, the next Xbox will play Steam games. I think when they speak about exclusivity, I think they mean like a window. I don't think that they'll go. I could be wrong, but I don't think they'll go like, okay, these games are just literally not coming to PlayStation. I think it'll be more like probably Steam, if I had to guess, will probably be right there. But I think PlayStation, if it does come there in the future, is going to be a little bit of a wait. But as far as them like having, and what some people are like, it ain't exclusives, I'm not worried about that. Like I felt like in a way, had there not been, you know, other people to play something like Starfield, we might not have got another one, because so many people, it was okay. Now you see, goes to PlayStation, beloved. You know, as far as the revenue goes, I don't do a lot of pocket checking. Because if you want to be technical about it, Microsoft richer than all of them. Wealthy, more wealthy than all of them, really. So that doesn't matter. What really matters is the next game. Starfield is definitely gonna get another one, because there's a cycle now, like with TV shows. Elder Scrolls is up next, and then they already said Fallout is up next. So by the time you get Elder Scrolls, Fallout, then you probably be looking at Starfield too. So for me, I'm in love with Bethesda right now. Then there's if I had to be honest, there's also the call, what I was speaking on the Call of Duty purchase, which is basically something that I think was very smart. Uh, and premium products. A lot of things that she's doing to me has rejuvenated Xbox. I feel like changing the logo and the sound effects and being active online, like that is one thing that I think really helps the brand, is being in a situation where you can go to her channel and she's actually talking about Xbox. You know, like, hey, this game and this software and this thing just came out and I'm excited for this. As far as the whole like communication on a back and forth standpoint, I know a lot of people look for that and they make different comments. If you ever see me comment on X, which is a place where I am blue check marked, right? Um, to be honest, it's always from an honest standpoint. It's never from a hey trying to get attention. It's how I really feel. Like I told her, welcome to Xbox. Can't wait to see what you did. And not even a month or 2 months later, she done lowered prices, changed games, trying to get the Renegade back. Getting rid of stuff that some people didn't agree with. So hell, my hand of God, if you was in the stream earlier, you would have heard one of my moderators say she's great. And everybody's like she's great. So shout out to you. Welcome to the whole brand team. Somebody like myself who's an OG Xbox gamer, who still has his original Xbox. Like I'm talking about the first one, not Xbox One, but the big boy with the Duke and all that. I appreciate where we're headed. I think that there's a lot of surprises that we don't know about, and I do appreciate the fact that she didn't necessarily kill the Xbox One guy like X off, because for somebody like me that put out $1,000 for one of them things, I feel like I would have been pissed. It might have. I think that it was explained to her in a way that if you do that, it can really piss people off to the point where they don't buy Xbox. I know if they were to come off like, okay, I'm the new boss of Xbox, and we're just gonna go ahead and disconnect service or stop supporting the Xbox One Galaxy X, yeah, that can affect you. Now, what I think may go on with that is the fact that it's always going to have a place with Xbox. And once again, if you want to look up the tweets there and find it, I'm pretty sure at least, hell, I want to say at least like maybe 2 to 3 years before, or if not longer, um, before Phil Spencer stepped down, I asked him for an Xbox handheld. I explained why I wanted an Xbox handheld. I was one of the first people to play on cloud, not like personally myself or against the world or nothing, but I literally went out and got a tablet just so I can play Xbox on the go, because you weren't able to do that. This handheld I will be getting into later, but to be honest, so far I I haven't really seen anything she's done that I didn't like. The Call of Duty thing not being in Game Pass, yeah, but to be honest, if I do jump back into Call of Duty like that, it's probably gonna not be a problem for me paying a monthly price for it. So, I just the only reason why I haven't really been putting in work is because last time I checked, that thing is like 231 gigabytes on my Xbox Rogue Ally X, and bro, I got other games over there right now. Like if I had to, it's right here. It's my handheld. Speaking of the Xbox Rogue Ally X, because it's at 100%, I can go ahead and disconnect that. Um, okay. So the games I have currently ready to go are NBA 2K26, Forza Horizon 6, Mafia 3: The Definitive Edition, Hogwarts Legacy, Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2, The Division, Tom Clancy's Division 2, State of Decay Juggernaut Edition 2, Starfield, Fallout 4, and I'm also going to be trying to work it out to get Fallout 76, but I play that on a cloud, but I'm trying to, work that out. The reason why I bring that up is because um, memory cards cost a lot, to be honest. If I was to say anything, I recognize that memory cards cost a lot. Why? I don't know. I guess it's due to the whole chip shortage and, the whole like, I have no idea. But I know that back in the day, and I don't mean like back in the 80s or even early 90s, but the early to mid 2000s, you used to be able to get a memory card for like, bro, if you wanted a terabyte or something, and it was like 75, 80 bucks. Literally, a 1 terabyte hard drive card is unavailable, and anything over that is unavailable. And last time I checked the price, what was it? Hope they didn't mess with the audio. Let's turn it up and double check. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. A 1 terabyte hard drive or like anything above that is like I think like $300 something. And I'm like, it's not that I don't want to pay it, it's that I feel like it's too high. And I also don't want to settle for a 500 gigabyte card because I feel like with memory cards you can't like say buy the 500 gigabyte and then later buy a bigger memory card and use them together. You would have to pick one. So I'm still in between about the memory card part, but if I had to be honest, I'm glad that she didn't cut off the Xbox Rogue Ally X support, and I'm glad that she didn't cut off the Xbox Rogue Ally support, and I'm also glad that she's making the decisions that she's making. Double check the audio. Okay, so yeah, I'm glad that she is basically like, all right, I'm taking us in a new direction, but at the same time, with this new direction, I'm taking care of those that, you know, are spending big money on games and technology and stuff like that. So yeah, she's doing a great job in my opinion. If she does say or do something I don't agree with, I have no problem with saying that. Just because of the fact that I think honesty, it may not always be valued the same way, but I feel like honesty is, especially in gaming, really appreciated. You may not see it all the time, but I'm pretty sure they know the difference between somebody that is being honest and somebody that is just everything is great. Like, oh my God, Xbox is great. Nothing is wrong. They are always great. Like, I can't do that because nobody's perfect. We all fall short of the glory. And I think that she's doing a great job at renovating things and bringing the brand back to dominance because I think we dominating right now. And I don't think, if I had to be honest, I don't think any marketing deal with GTA is going to stop that. I understand that, and I'll be getting into GTA later, but I don't think we're going to care. I think by the time you got Fable, by the time you got coming down the pike, 9 times out of 10, new updates to Fallout 76, I think by the time you got something like Fallout Anniversary able to be bought by the average person again, I don't really see myself really caring, what goes on there with a marketing deal with GTA. It's kind of old to me. Something that I'm more interested in, and I'll be getting into it, is something like Fable, where you have a whole new mechanic of being able to have a family and kids and a job, but at the same time, go off and try to save the world or at least make money. So, you know, uh, to me, I think that she cooking. I'm gonna teach y'all the terminology like what we say with the Eagles. Let her cook, you know. So we're gonna let her cook and see what she got up next. But so far, I like the new boss. I think I like her new direction. I like the renegade spirit that she has. The kind of we're gonna go to war because we're better type thing, versus the we're gonna work with you because everybody should work with each other mentality. So, you know, kudos to you and keep up the great work. The next one. Let me see here. My thoughts on the gaming industry currently and where I think it's headed. Okay, right now, I think the gaming industry, as far as prices go, are in a position where you have to pay more because that's just where we are as a finance, as a world. Everything costs more. Prime example, I like crawfish, right? And where I get my crawfish from, I used to be able to get like I think it's like a 5 pound bag for like 19 bucks. Bro, don't you know I came here one day and they wanted 30 bucks for this bag? I'm like, for me, I'm banging this on down in a day or two. So it wasn't worth it at the time. I kind of have given in because it's kind of hard to find crawfish the way I want to make them. Like I make my crawfish very buttery and seasoned, and and I just like pouring them into a bowl and just sitting in front of a TV show, game stream, or TV show and just banging them down. And you can't really do that at a restaurant because a lot of people, especially at buffets and stuff, a lot of buffets and restaurants and stuff like that, they make their stuff kind of bland. And if you've ever worked in the food industry, you would understand that the reason why they have to do that is because some people can't have, due to diet restrictions, they can't have very high, you know, pounds of butter or a lot of seasoning or a lot of salt, especially Old Bay. Not a lot of people use Old Bay like that. I'm a major Old Bay fan. Hell, I love the chips too, crab chips. Wish I had them, but at the same time, it's understandable that the price goes up because the prices went up on everything. So it doesn't mean I'm not going to buy it, and I haven't bought it. It's just I was uncomfortable with the price increase. So to be honest, the game industry is going to go up. I think that, and I'm going to get into it, and I can kind of answer this question now to kind of get ahead of it. Do I believe that the next Xbox will be more than $1,000? Yes, I personally myself do, because I don't see a world where you can bring out a Xbox World Gala X at $1,000 and then bring out a Xbox, whatever the real name is going to be at $600. I just don't see how you can do that because number one, if we look close, GameStop for whatever reason has pulled away from Xbox, whether that be because they don't they're pushing more of a digital standpoint, whether it be that they can't carry their products financially, but I go to Best Buy for my stuff now. So don't get me wrong, I go to GameStop because I own a Nintendo Switch, which is still a great brand, and when news is there, news will be there. But this is Xbox right now, and basically I go to Best Buy for that because they don't sell it anywhere else. And when I'm in the mood to buy some products or look at an accessory, I'm not going to go anywhere else because I know that they're not going to have that same accessory. So there's no point in looking at it. Um, to me, I think that by the time some people look up from games like Grand Theft Auto, they're going to realize that they spent so much time and so much money that you've missed out on so many other good games. Like some of the games that are coming down the pike for Xbox have me like, man, I'm probably not gonna have no time to be, playing every day of a GTA Online. And what you have to understand is, if I had to be honest, it looks like a great game. The graphics look like a great game, but the thing about it is, it can get kind of ridiculous, And I'm not sure where they want to go. Like, am I gonna sit up here and say, "Hey, I'm not buying it"? because PlayStation has a marketing rights. I wouldn't say that, but the last time they had something like that, it was more like, oh well, we get this exclusive mission, or we get this exclusive service, or we get something like that. And that's one thing that I would say that, was brought up by Phil Spencer, that we're not second class gamers. And I'm not gonna put myself in that situation, especially if the game's gonna be $80. And we all know shark cards are gonna be a couple $100 to keep up, and cars are gonna cost two, three shark cards and stuff like that. If it was equal, where it was like, hey, we're getting the same game, they just had the marketing rights, that'd be different. But I think it's gonna end up evolving into something where like that's their game. Where like PlayStation goes, for the best graphics or for the best buy GTA on a PlayStation. Then you're gonna have everybody claiming that PlayStation is better just because of a marketing rights with GTA. So I haven't decided if I want to get into that. Excuse me. For me, I feel like the industry is moving towards a half mobile, half console standpoint. I think that something like the Rogue Ally X, something like the Nintendo Switch, and even the PlayStation Portal gives you the ability to take it with you. I've heard a couple people be like, "Well, I don't want to play that way. I want to just sit at home with my feet up on the couch," and that's cool. If that's what you see as your version of gaming, for me, I've been gaming since a small child in the '80s, and I've been doing that for a long period of time. I love the fact that after this podcast, I can shut it off, chill, play my handheld in the chill mode, like in a bed somewhere, and get the same experience that I get from my Xbox. Not a watered down version, not a barely can work version, but the same exact, you know, hardware game that's running on my Xbox, or even different games I can run on my Xbox Rogue Ally X. Now, the one mistake I will say that I made with it is not getting a memory card. Excuse me. Looking back on it, I do feel as though I should have got that memory card. So I'm keeping an eye on it. As things go forward, I may just bite the bullet and pay like, I mean, I ain't paying $300, but if I could get a terabyte of maybe like say, because I saw something where they said that uh, Samsung works as well. So I'll look into it, and probably on the next update, on like was it Saturday now? Maybe like on a Sunday, I'll have more information. Um, But yeah, I think prices are going to go up, but I think the games are going to get quicker. For whatever reason, I think that something like Elder Scrolls is up next, and they're going to focus on there. But then I think it's not going to be too long of a wait for Fallout, and I also don't think that it's going to be. I think the method of 5 to 10 years in between certain games is going to die off. I think with more money being generated into these games, that hold on one second, scratch my ear there. I think that with the, and let me double check the audio because you don't want to be talking into the wind. Hold on. Okay. Um, Myself personally, I feel that basically there's so many good games that I'm excited for that are Xbox made, like that we know are coming. Is the new State of Decay. Um, like I said, I'm still deep. Got to finish Gears of War 5 before I can move on to E-Day. I also I'm waiting on a new Halo, but um, excuse me, you cannot go back and play the multiplayer Halo 5 because nobody's doing it like that. But I'm willing to wait to see what the next Halo is and take it from there. Forza is just, I'm gonna get into that as one of the most beautiful games I've ever saw. So yeah, State of Decay, Fable, Elder Scrolls, updates to Fallout 76, and just everything that comes with Fallout 4. Those are 5 games where I'm like, bro, I'm so glad I own Xbox. I know the prices is gonna be more. I know that if anybody is going to show you how much games cost and how much microtransactions really are there, it's going to be GTA. And you know what takes me out? People will actually complain, oh, an NBA 2K, you got to spend this amount of money to get sneakers. Okay. If you don't want to spend, say, $20 to get a pair of sneakers in 2K, explain to me spending $220 to buy a Porsche in GTA that somebody's gonna blow up as soon as it leaves the garage. And then even if you turn on passive mode, that doesn't protect your car. Yeah, you can lock your car, but then all somebody's gonna do is blow it up and drive away. So, at the same time, I'm a little bit more cautious when it comes to GTA just because of the options that's out there. And I'm gonna do, let's see, how many we got left here. I'm gonna do two more, and then I'm gonna look to wrap this up. It's getting kind of late. So the last two I have is my thoughts on the Xbox One Gala X after 100 hours of gameplay. 1 second, give me a second. My thoughts on the Xbox One Gala X after 100 hours of use and gameplay use. Um, it's perfect, to be honest. I think it's a perfect blend of a PC mixed with a game and handheld. 1 second. Testing. Make sure I'm back. Hold on 1 second. Make sure. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, now that we're doing a daily content, I don't have to try to get everything out in just one stream. So I'm gonna do my thoughts on Xbox Rollout X, and I'm also give my opinion on the Discord information. As I said, Forza is an amazing, beautiful game. I can't wait to play it. Gave my thoughts on GTA. Love Fable. Can't wait for that. And of course, like I said, I'm buying a new Xbox. To be honest, regardless of the cost, if I can afford it, I'm gonna get it. Um, and when I say I can afford it, it's one of those, to be honest, as a married man myself, I like to make sure the house is straight first, and I also spread it out as much as I can. But I do plan on trying to do everything under my power to have the new Xbox as soon as it comes out, not like kind of like how I did with my Rogue Ally X, where it came out, I think in like September or something, and I bought it like I want to say 2 weeks after review, excuse me, after release. It was just one of those things where I had to wait until it actually was available till it got sent to me in the mail. But yeah, with the Xbox One Galaxy X, I've done a review of it on my website. But if I had to be honest, it just keeps getting better and better. I feel like it's the perfect blend of a PC where I can play my Steam games, and I was a former Steam Deck owner, and then I switched over to the Xbox One Galaxy X. I love the fact that I have the Ubisoft connection and the Steam and Armory Crate and all these other sorts of stuff. So me paying $1,000 isn't a problem for that. And I also think that if the new Xbox is just throwing a number out here, if the new Xbox is between $1,000 and $2,000, would I be willing to buy it? Yes, because I feel as though it's gonna play Steam games, it's gonna play Ubisoft games. I mean, not saying it doesn't normally play Ubisoft games, but Steam alone mixed with an Xbox is worth that amount of money because I feel like what it does is it's not just a console, it's a PC as well. The final topic. Why I'm glad, excuse me, why I'm glad that a service I've been a member of since 2017, Discord, is partnering with Xbox. Like I said, as the last topic, if you don't know, we have the SR51Media server, which is open to the public with rules, to be honest. We do have moderators over there, and I have a rule set that you have to agree with. Now, one of the things I did set up was you have to, I think, have a verified phone number to get inside the server. Now, the reason why I did that is because it prevents spam and it also prevents trolling. And it also, not to say it doesn't prevent it completely, but it puts a barrier between, the community and the, let's say, how you put that there, general troll. The average person isn't gonna, come into a stream. I mean, excuse me, isn't gonna come into a server and say something, racial or homophobic or hate based or religious based or something like that, hateful, because it's attached to their phone number. And if they get reported enough times, Discord could ban their channel. And that's the difference between, you know, our community versus other people's community. I understand, I'm a part of a lot of Discord servers myself, and sometimes I'm just an observer. I don't say anything because I don't want to, make it seem like I'm coming down on somebody else's group. But some of the stuff I've seen is a little outlandish, and I know that the average person that just wants to talk about video games doesn't want to talk about some of the things that people are talking about. So if you haven't already, be sure to slide on over to Discord and check it out. Once again, it is the SR51Media server. If you need directions, let me know. It should be the same logo that you see on every branding, really. That same elephant should be that same elephant on Discord. As long as you agree to the rules and you have a verified phone number, join up and comment. But yeah, this was the introductory. I will be doing daily gaming news. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit shorter than what we did tonight. I like to try to do at least one, longer extended stream so that way because I had to play catch up. There was a lot of things that went on I had to play catch up with. But we are caught up now, and I'm gonna go ahead and let this one rock because it's almost about 12 o'clock at night. I know a lot of y'all got stuff y'all got to do tomorrow. So you have a good rest of your night. Stay blessed, stay safe. I will be talking to you tomorrow. If it's in a short form or a long form, it will be tomorrow. And remember, this is the SR51 Media Empire, where you never know what's behind the next load screen. You have a blessed rest of your night. Peace.